Mr. County Executive, there's been a lot of discussion in Annapolis this year about new stormwater management regulations. Could you explain to us exactly what the concerns are and how it relates to Baltimore County?
Well, everyone's concerned about our environment and the health of the Chesapeake Bay, and rightly so. And stormwater runoff is one of the pollutants that affects the environment adversely, and is also having a negative impact on the Chesapeake Bay. So the move to tighten up the regulations for stormwater management is really supported by everybody. The issue for Baltimore County, however, is the tightening up of the rules for redevelopment projects, or as we say in Baltimore County, Renaissance projects. Renaissance projects are those that are occurring in our older neighborhoods where the properties were built up before there were, in many instances, any stormwater management regulations in place, so that there's no stormwater treatment of these existing sites. Baltimore County has been aggressive in trying to renew or renaissance, I know it's not a verb, but I still use it that way, these sites. And the regulations that are being proposed with regard to redevelopment projects, and that's all I'm talking about is redevelopment projects, are tightening up in a couple ways. One, the definition of what qualifies as a redevelopment project is too restrictive, which means that our redevelopment projects in Baltimore County are going to be required to have stormwater management treatment just as though they were a green field, and an undeveloped cornfield, and that is detrimental to Baltimore County's efforts at Renaissance, and it makes it really economically prohibitive to get those sites redeveloped, which means if they're not redeveloped, the existing lack of any stormwater management controls prevails. The next problem with the regulations for a redevelopment project only is that the treatment that's being required of a redevelopment project is so significant that it makes the cost such that the redevelopment won't occur. Redevelopment projects are frequently on very, very tight margins because the cost of the land is usually high because it's in the midst of a lot of infrastructure. And then there's often demolition involved, and it's really necessary to get a certain amount of density out of these sites in order to make it profitable enough that developers will undertake the work. And frankly, it is really the heart of smart growth. And in Baltimore County, we have been proponents of smart growth long before that term was ever coined. Back in the 70s, Baltimore County was doing smart growth with our URDL line, our urban rural demarcation line, and with our restrictive zoning, one lot for 50 acres. But we also were zoning the Owings Mills Town Center, and we were also zoning the White Marsh Town Center. And we were doing those kinds of things that they now talk about for many, many years. That availability of redevelopment in your older neighborhoods is really critical for the success of smart growth, which means we have to have these projects undertaken. So making the regulations so restrictive and so onerous because of the nature of the sites and the kind of work that has to be done there is going to drive away that kind of redevelopment, which is going to be is going to result in the loss of the value of the infrastructure, the loss of the ability to create greater densities in already developed areas, and is going to work against Baltimore County's land use approach of 30, 35 years. And so it is not that Baltimore County is contending that stormwater management should not be applied to redevelopment sites. Certainly it should be, but it should be applied in a way that will allow those projects to go forward and to happen.
You have a reputation of being able to find the middle ground and also being able to cut through complex issues and make them make sense. Can you tell us where you think that we should go from here?
Well, the first thing is to compromise a bit on what qualifies as a redevelopment project. Right now, the proposed regulation is a redevelopment project is one that has 40% impervious cover. Well, a number of these redevelopment projects have less than that, and so we've done a survey of sites in Baltimore County, for example, and believe that a more appropriate breakwater point is a 30% impervious cover. If a site has 30% impervious cover, it can qualify as a redevelopment site, which then kicks in less than 100% stormwater management treatment of the site, which is what's required of, we'll call them virgin or greenfields sites. And the next thing that's so important for redevelopment is the amount of stormwater management treatment that is required on the site. A redevelopment site, as proposed by the regulations, will require a 50% treatment, which means that you have to treat 50% of the area, or you have to install an equivalent water quality treatment for the site. The current regulation requires 20% treatment, and what will work for additional treatment of a redevelopment site, but not so prohibitive or interfering with the potential development capacity of the site, is 30%.
Anything else that you'd like to add?
This is really not an either-or situation. We can protect the environment and the Chesapeake Bay and still promote smart growth and redevelopment, which is critical to the success of smart growth at the same time.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure.